Hi, and welcome to Writing with the Rosts. I'm Mr. Rost. You might remember me from such other shows as This Old Garden and This Old Garden Animal Edition. But this week, I'm going to be taking over writing, as you may have noticed in the last video in the mid-credit scene or the post-credit text. We're going to be wandering toward fantasy writing and away from realistic fiction, but the great thing is we can use a lot of our skills from realistic fiction writing and just turn them into skills for fantasy writing while adding a little bit more of a creative flair, because a lot more stuff can happen. It doesn't have to be something that feels like it could be real. It can be really anything happening along the way. So let's go ahead and toss on this gauntlet that I borrowed from Big Purple Guy and see what happens as we bend reality.
Well, this is surprising and not exactly what I meant. I guess I'll get the hang of this thing eventually. But while I'm here, let's go ahead and talk about this as an example. Maybe your character unexplainably turns into an animal, such as, say, I don't know, a gorilla, like I just did. But that doesn't have to be the only thing that happens that is fantastical in your story. There's lots of other things that could happen. Let's try this again, shall we? Oh, well, look at that. Now I'm a wizard girl in a castle. Alright, well, it's close to what I was going for. I was going for wizard, but, details, right? Actually, details are really important. You need to know what your character can do, who your character is. You need to know, can they, I don't know, raise their arms and make wands appear and disappear in their hand? Or, I don't know, maybe make hats appear. Do they have magic powers? It's really important that you know who your character is before you start writing. So please make sure that you plan out your character before you start your writing. All right, let's try this one more time. And okay, so this is a little bit more like what I was going for before. So we're getting closer to nailing down our characters. We need to make sure, like I just said, that we are planning our characters well before we start writing. That way we don't start having our characters do things that don't match what our characters should do. That would be, I don't know, out of character. All right, now I think that I'm getting the hang of this thing now. So let's try ninja. Whew, all right, well, nailed it, finally. Wah! All right, so just remember that whether your character has powers, has lots of training, or is just a regular person in a fantastic situation, you can do whatever you want this time with your fantasy writing. I hope that you enjoy developing your characters. Now, let's see if I can get back to normal so that we can talk about setting. Here we go.
Woo! Okay, back to normal here in the kitchen. All right. Well, speaking of where we are, we need to talk about setting a little bit. This week, you have a lot more flexibility with your setting. So you could pick something kind of realistic for where you want your fantasy story to take place. You could pick something like a farm or a city. Or you could start to branch out a little bit and be a little bit more creative and go something like a castle or in space. Maybe underwater. Way back in the past with a dinosaur? It's right behind me, isn't it? Or in your favorite video game. The thing to remember is that no matter where you set your story this time, you can have it be as fantastic or as normal as you want, because at the end of the day, all of the creative juices that are flowing through your brain can come up with whatever they want, and it's completely fine, because none of it has to be real, some of it has to be real, or all of it has to be real, depending on what your fantasy is going to be for your writing this week. So be really creative, come up with whatever you want, have as much realism or as much nonsense in your setting as you want, and pick something that you're going to be able to really have fun with as you are writing your fantasy story. So remember this week, you don't need any sort of fancy gauntlet to create your own world and characters. Nah, you can do whatever you'd like with your characters, your setting. Be creative. This week, here's what I need you to do. I need you to sketch out your characters. I need you to come up with where they're going to be, what they're going to do, and I need you to put together a rough draft. Because next week, I'm going to share with you my first draft and how I'm going to touch it up. And you need to be ready to go through and do some revisions of your own. So have a great time, be creative, enjoy, and most importantly, let's get to writing. I'll see you next week.